So, how was the tour around Darjeeling and Kerala? Munnar? The coffee plantations that which Rita had talked about? Ladies and gentlemen, we begin the panel discussion section now. The biggest festival of Bengal, Durga Puja, is just over. The essence of this particular puja is that all passions of Bengal converge together. Be it emotion, culture, the love of life, the warmth of being together, the joy of celebration, and yes, of course, the cult of gods.
But the festive season is not quite over. In fact, we are earnestly awaiting the Kali Puja in 10 days from now. Goddess Durga and Kali are both symbols of empowered women and bring before us the universal truth of victory of good over evil.
On that thought, we'll now hold a panel discussion on do we have enough opportunities for women to become successful leaders in future? We are honored to have with us distinguished guests from all walks of life as esteemed panelists for this discussion.
It is said that cricket is a religion in India. When it comes to cricket, we talk about Kapil Dev, Sunil Gavaskar, Sachin Tendulkar, and our very own Sharma. But we have here with us today a lady who has ventured into this male-dominated sport and carved out her own niche. She communicates best with her bat. She is an Arjuna Award winner, former captain of the Indian women cricket team, and now the leading commentator of Indian cricket. In keeping with the true spirit of Durga Puja, I would welcome her with this slogan. Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu Vritti Rupena Samstita Namaste Se, Namaste Se, Namaste Se, Namo Namo. Ladies and gentlemen, join me as I welcome Miss Anjum Chopra.
It is said that motherhood changes the life of a woman in many ways. Our next panelist is a teacher by profession and a mother of a 9-year-old, and that is what she was before last year when she contested in Mrs. India International 2011 beauty pageant. Her smile touches everyone as she interacts with her, and her heart goes out for those underprivileged children who are deprived of their basic right to education. Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu Marti Rupena Samstita Namastashve, 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 Namo Namo. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on stage Mrs. Richa Sharma.
Our next panelist is a very known face in the Kolkata circuit. In fact, I'm quite used to reading her articles in these leading dailies of today. She is one of the leading experts in the field of corporate communication who has seen gender inequality in the multinational she worked in and then has established her very own public relations consultancy company, Rita Communications, where under her, many young women have found their feet in the profession an MA in journalism from USA. She has authored 2 books on PR, is a soft skills trainer in many countries, a sought-after anchor, a popular columnist, and professor of media studies at Koilan, and has done a series on women's issues for Radio South Africa. She has also produced a documentary on Raja Ram Mohan Roy, who has been a champion for women's education, widow remarriage, and the abolition of sati. Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Kanti Rupeno Samstita. Namaste se, namaste se, namaste se, namo namaha. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me as I welcome on stage Ms. Rita Bhimani.
We have our 4th panelist who is yet to arrive, but let me introduce her and break the suspense. She is a lady who has been the epitome of power in a world which is predominantly ruled by men. She is an IPS officer and was the crime wing's first woman chief, Joint Commissioner of Police Crime. She is presently TIG training, Balapur Police Training College. Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Shakti Rupeno Sanskita. Namastashvai, 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 Nama Nama. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Mrs. Damayanti Singh.
She hasn't yet arrived. We've got information that she's stuck in traffic, so I'm sure she'll join the discussion as soon as she's here.
Now, our final panelist. She is an educator, a linguist, musicologist, writer, editor, and management consultant, and has over 25 years of experience working in academic, corporate, and not-for-profit environments. She has played a pivotal role in nurturing the infant District 41 to the number 2 position in Toastmasters International last year. Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Buddhirupeno Sanstita. Namastashvai, 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 Nama Nama. Please welcome to the stage the immediate past Minister Governor and the moderator of this panel discussion, Dr. Punita Singh.
Shlokas to introduce every panelist. Very creative, very apt, very relevant, and chosen very appropriately for all of our wonderful panelists today. Now, in a country like ours and in a city like Kolkata, just look at that amazing image. The epitome of multitasking, the goddess of learning, of music. A book in one hand, an instrument in another hand. These are our role models. These are the icons that we revere. Ma Saraswati, the goddess of light and fortune. Everyone would like her to visit. Everyone whitewashes their house, cleans up their homes in order to prepare for her to visit. We revere her. We revere her with our needs, with our greed, in a very ulterior motive sort of way sometimes. But she lights up our lives. And she blesses us with her benevolence. Goddess Lakshmi. And the multi-limbed matriarch supreme, epitome of strength, of justice, yet gentleness and fairness. Ma Durga. When we have icons like these in our country, in our lives, whom we revere, whom we pray to every day, do we really need to have a panel discussion on women empowerment when these are the legends we have them in our scriptures, we have them in our temples, we have them on our shelves, we have them in our hearts, we have them in our lives. We also have women leaders in the public eye, in this state, at the national level, at the international level. We have women leaders in Toastmasters, our regional advisor Rita, our FDM Ritu. We have so many women leaders in Toastmasters. We have amazing sports women. We have the ultimate images of beauty and motherhood. We have erudite scholars, writers, experts on communication. We have people who watch out for us. Protectors that come in. We have these wonderful panelists with us. We have Anjum, we have Richa, we have Rita, we have Damayanti. And all of them are also icons of leadership. So it is a bit ironic to be sitting here and hosting this panel discussion where we are debating, pondering, wondering about the underprivileged poor girl child, about the state of women in this society, whether there are adequate opportunities for them, whether there should be any special privileges for them, anything that we should all be engaged in, anything more than we already are. So these are some of the questions and the ironies that are facing us. Because if one only looked at what I've talked about it now, this would be a redundant term. And yet we all know that there is a need for this. Because somewhere there is a paradox. While we have all of this wonderful imagery and experience with, for some women, it is completely absent for others. There are some women who don't even get to reach adulthood because their lives are taken away too short, whether due to malnutrition, disease, or even when they are in utero. So there are all of these terrible things that we also encounter in our society. And in this panel discussion today, the way I thought we would approach the subject is each of us would take this on. We would consider this dichotomy of the fact that we have been the beneficiaries of opportunity, we ourselves here. We are the privileged ones.
When I say that whatever I have achieved, I think it's very incomplete for me to start by not complimenting Dr. Punita Singh. I think what doctor is very important because it not only shows the skill, the class, but it also shows the talent which precedes the name as well. And that's why I say it because the acknowledgement that you received from this lovely audience was just there to show that how much they respect you, how much they appreciate you, and how much of talent that you have that you've been able to receive such beautiful reception and inspiration. Over the years, I firmly believed, I started over the years before I come to the starting point, is just to sum up this statement that I said, is over the years I firmly believe that it's talent which really is a very big key in helping a person reach a level where they deserve. I'm not discounting the facts of luck and favorable situations and whatever, that's something different. When we go and have a small little discussions with our psychologists during the Indian camps and Indian training sessions. When the psychologist says how much of your credit would you want to give to a performance, to luck and skill, everybody comes up on a scale of 1 to 10 with 6 and 4 or 4 and 6 respectively. But the psychologist says it's skill is all 100%. There is no luck. So if you're very skillful, you will achieve your target. So that's one just part of it. I happen to get into cricket not just by chance but by interest and by choice as well. And the choice was made by me but was initiated very much by my parents. I do belong to a family of sports people, so some things came very naturally to me. The legacy especially came very naturally to me. If I start with my grandfather, my maternal grandfather, he was a Commonwealth Games athlete, cricket commentator. And when I come to my mother, she's been a car rallyist, winner of a couple of car rallies in India. My dad's a golfer. My brothers played cricket before me. My uncles played Ranji Trophy, Dilip Trophy cricket till the India level. So cricket or probably sports was very much common in my family. But when I started playing cricket, I started just being a wicket keeper. We used to go and get the ball from the end of the street because my uncle and my brother used to play. And whenever I did miss the ball, I had to just go down to the end of the street, pick up the cricket ball and go and stand back again on the field. Just to make sure, so that I don't have to run the distance, I had to be a very good wicket keeper. So probably that's helped me become a good slip fielder in the later years. But I started to sports just because I think I really liked it, and it was, I don't want to say those years, but yes, almost 2.5 decades back, when my parents got me into the field of sports, there was a lot of resentment from the world that sports को खेलता है क्या? कोई नौकरी नहीं है, कुछ मतलब है. But I think it was their confidence that no, if a child's interested in the sport, you must go and play. But cricket had really raised a lot of eyebrows across the world, especially I say across the world because the family comes from small water and said, no, don't get into cricket, it's a male sport. But the passion, the religion in our country really took me to the game. Not that I didn't play other sports, I am a Delhi state basketball player, I played squash, I did athletics, swimming, everything. But yes, over the years when cricket was becoming my passion, it was becoming part of my curricular, not only curricular activities but my resume as well. There was a lot of eyebrows being raised and a lot of questions being asked as to why should a girl play sport if they should go maximum play badminton or tennis. It didn't come easy, the road to becoming a state player didn't become easy. But yes, very rightly, probably we were on the, I especially was on the right side of a few good things, where my school supported me a lot. DPS Harvard, my college, St. Stephen's College supported me a lot. I ended up doing my MBA, which didn't support me a lot, but the president of the college was very supportive. He said, as long as you pass, it's good enough for me. If a person who's playing for India is managing to pass the regular MBA course, then it's a matter of pride for them. And leave aside all those quote-unquote silly people who just don't understand sports. They just want to mark attendance in their registers. So the passion for sports was helped by my institutions. Coming across into the field, which is yes dominated by male members, it wasn't easy even breaking into the field where the boys or the men dominate as a player or even as a commentator. Initially, yes, there was a little bit of prove yourself kind of a thing that I had to come across with as to why is a girl sitting on a panel and what is, if there is hardly a women's cricket happening across the world, how can she contribute to a male game and comment about a male game? But again, fortunately for me, I had to overcome that hurdle as well. I had to pass that exam, not written exam, but real exam happening in front of the audience. And not so later, I was accepted into the field of commentary as well. So it wasn't easy, and it's not easy till now because you still have to keep performing and keep giving a good account of yourself every time you step on to the ground as a player, or on the ground as a commentator, or as a corporate executive. But yes, probably I still belong to a area which I got the preference, where other women could not or have not been starved with the opportunities to go out there and showcase their talent, probably because of family support or being from a good city, Delhi. So yes, but I'm fortunate and I'm very thankful for all the opportunities and for the moment that I'm here today sharing all these things with you. Thank you.
Rachna, could we also have your story and how you've made it and how you feel about the status of not just women, but in particular about the potential women, the girl child who's going to grow up to be a woman and how she can be empowered.
Hi everybody. Before I also start saying something about myself, I would like to say 3 lines. Coming together is the beginning, and staying together is the progress, and working together is success. And that's what Postmasters have proved. And not only them, all of you who are here. So I believe, especially these wonderful women and all of you, I'm really privileged to share my views. All of you are from distinguished walks of life. Not only women, especially I should say that even men are. And if both of them change their attitude towards life, I think we can actually come towards success. You agree with me or not? And if I talk about myself, I was really fortunate to have such parents who are the first teacher who brought me in this life, in this world, given me lovely culture and values which I am inculcating in my daughter. But even if I had a boy, I would have done the same thing. What I am trying to do with her. And where I am today, it's not by chance. Maybe the zeal to learn new things. And apart from that, if I am helping underprivileged children, it was much before I was married, when I was very small. What I learned, that even if you're on the street, you are trying to do something. So it's just I would say that purpose. We are here on this earth for some purpose, and so is the child, whether it's a boy or a girl. So if all of us can come together and do a small bit for them in some little, like in some or the other way, to make them achieve this purpose, we can actually win. And apart from that, again I would say that I'm really privileged and honored. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Richa. Now could we ask Rita to also share her story?
Thank you so much. I think listening to both Anjum, Chopra and Richa, Sharma, they should definitely, with the permission of Dr. Punita, they should be inducted into Toastmasters because they're such lovely speakers, don't you agree? And they are. I mean, Anjum is such a popular commentator. She's broken into a man's world. It's not easy, I can tell you. My son is in that field and they always grouse about women's cricket. But then, when they find somebody who has the knowledge, the expertise, and that overview that she brings to it, I think they begin to respect her. So it is all about how you can prove yourself. And with Richa, such a well-spoken person, I think a lot of young mothers should definitely take heed from her on how to look good and how to speak well. And of course, Punita, you're then a role model, it's something else. We need to interact much more on Toastmasters and hear much more from you. But right now I know the focus is on me. Like the way Richa started, she had 2-3 lines. I just had a couple of lines when Anjum was talking about skill being much more important than luck as such. I feel that you must have some take-home value. So there are 5 S's. I added that skill right now, which you should take away for excellence. Excellence, the first S, of course, yes, would be what you said, skill. So don't please leave it just to luck. The second thing is, when you have that talent in you, I think it is very important to share ideas. When you were talking about this whole thing of the girl child and how we can empower her and empower the ones who just don't have it in them to empower themselves. If we can all share our ideas and our expertise, I think that would be a first step towards growing our own excellence and growing the girl child. The second thing, and this I think I'm inspired by Toastmasters, is to have succinct thoughts. Be very simple and clear thinking. That is how you can convey it to others, in excellence. The third, again, Toastmaster inspired, superiority of expression. I myself do a lot of training programs, and I feel it's not just important to be brilliant, but hey, come forward and actually show it to the world. So, how well you can express yourselves, and this is what, unfortunately, we fall back in our country. In many IT companies where I've been a consultant, where they are wonderful, they're real experts, but they don't seem to be able to come out and express themselves. You need to do that as well. So the external part. And the fourth part is the self-actualization. Actually, that's the fifth, because we started with the skill set. So self-actualization is continuing to grow and not just get static. And I'll just go back to a few words about myself, because I suppose you'd also like to hear that. We've all been, I think, privileged to have a wonderful background, and mine goes back several generations to my great grandmother. And she was the first woman who set up a school in Darjeeling. This was 105 years ago. And she found that the British didn't really want our girls to be in their schools. So she said, well, so what? I'm going to do something about it. And she went around to the various Maharanis of Sonpur and Kuch Bihar and the others, and she said, I'd like to gather some funds. I want to start a school. So she started a school called the Maharani Girls' School because she had gone to the Maharanis. And that is still there today in Darjeeling. Any of you can go and see it. This was a lady in that era when, you know, alone she battled it. She spoke the most beautiful English. Some of you girls who are wearing borrowed sharis, I must tell you, my great-great-great-grandmother wore her borrowed shari, and she would wear this long white cloak, and she was an amazing figure in Darjeeling. So you can see how the inheritance came. But when she was born, by the way, she was born to a very important man called Pandit Shivnath Shastri, one of the founders of the Brahmo Samaj movement. She was a little dark child, and everyone said, oh gosh, a girl and a dark girl, and oh dear, what's going to happen? But then her father said, no, she is going to make something of her life, and she did it. And look at how she did it. My grandmother, again, was a scholar and a writer, and in her time, again, very well renowned. My mother, also a writer. She did lots of other things. She was the first woman magistrate in Jamshedpur, and she would put this pallu around her head and go and, you know, be very important in the kacheri. And yet she wrote and wrote and wrote. And she made us write and write and write, because she said that you must develop a certain skill which you can use with great power. So writing became a great skill set from the age of 6. And then, you know, it came to me. So this is how, and of course we were part of the Brahmo Samaj, as when I was introduced. We talked about the fact that I did this documentary of Raja Ram Mohan Roy, who was one person. He was a social reformer who thought a lot about women. He abolished the system of sati, when a woman would jump into the funeral pyre after her husband. Then he said, but hey, since all these women would be saved, what am I going to do with them? We've got to educate them. We've got to get the widows remarried. He started all that. And he also started education. So that's how a lot of the women were educated. So these were the privileges we lived in, and that's why when I came into the corporate world, I felt that let's see if one can try to prove oneself. It was not easy. I was in a multinational, and we never got the same privileges as the men, unfortunately. If I had to have a baby, then I had to pay for it myself. If my colleague who's a male, his wife had a baby, then everything was paid for her. Why this difference? So we had to fight for all that. You know, fighting for getting separate toilets, fighting for getting more salary than our male counterparts. In the tea gardens here, the women, wage workers, have less than men. So there are lots of dichotomies, I think, in this whole world. And when I started my own PR company, I found a lot of women came and worked for me, and they have now gone on to larger positions. So I think one of the factors is that all women should try and mentor more women so that they can come forward. We don't always have to go to the grassroots. There's some people who go and work at the grassroots. But I think if each one can mentor a few, maybe, you know, things would work out better. We don't always have to just go to the goddess Saraswati and worship her. I think they will worship all of us individually. So this is just a little bit about my life, and I think I'd like to ask Punita to continue the discussion. Maybe we'll have one or two other aspects that will come up in the discussion. But while we're at it, Anjum, there was this fast bowler from the English cricket team who was a Bengali girl, a slim little Bengali thing, and she played for the English cricket team. You must be knowing her. Isha Kumar. Isha came to Calcutta Cricket Club and she asked, could I get a game? I introduced her around to everyone. All the men, they said, you go and field over there. I said, she's one of the fast bowlers, the fastest bowler. Is that so? They didn't believe it until she was out on the field and bowling at the guys. So I think, when you ask Anjum, she will tell you a few stories about that. This is again the dichotomy.
In some sports or in some fields, certain advantages are given to people who, it's not a level playing field, and certain head starts are given where people feel that that's needed. But what I feel, again another irony vis-a-vis women, is that not only do we not have that little advantage, that affirmative action that is there in many, many cultures and countries, but on the contrary, we have to do extra. We have to be more, we have to show more, we have to do more to prove ourselves. So just like what you gave examples of, whether it's cricket or whether it's whatever field you're in the corporate world or working in an NGO, to prove yourself, just to reach that level, one is actually doing more. So it's quite the opposite of what many people might think, that certain special advantages are being given or privileges are being given. And some facts and figures I wanted to share with, can we have the projector please? These are some vital statistics and they're actually quite horrifying. This is from a UN site, that worldwide, out of more than 130 million primary school-age children who are not enrolled in school, 60% are girls. And by age 18, girls have received an average of 4.4 years less education than boys. Over 1.5 lakh teenage girls die in childbirth and pregnancy-related incidents. At least 1 in 3 girls and women worldwide has been beaten or sexually abused. An estimated 450 million adult women in developing countries are stunted because of malnutrition in their early lives. So these are some pretty horrifying facts that stare us in the face. So even as we sit here, and we are really privileged because we've had the benefit of education, we've had the benefit of supportive families, we've had the right breaks. So we are the educated, the empowered women with opportunities. But there are so many who've not even had this basic stuff, whether that's nutrition, education, opportunity. So how do we do this? How do we help generate opportunities? How do we help empower? And what can we do for education? There was a recent case in Pakistan, Malala Yousafzai, which caused quite an uproar in the media because this little young girl who wanted an education, who wanted to go to school, was shot, brutally shot, because the Taliban did not want education for women. And this little girl was brave enough to speak up, and even as she is fighting for her life in hospital, she's still speaking up. It has not cowed her down. I was very intrigued to find out that even in a place like that, they have something called a child's council, and she was the head of that. So as a youngster, between the ages of 18 and 12, she had already made herself take on this mantle of being a child leader and speaking up, because somehow she realized that education was the path to empowerment. So to be so brutally treated when all you want is an education. something that has touched the hearts of many people, this incident that happened. And in our own country, sometimes we don't even get to this point because there's just no voice. There's nobody listening, and there's not enough people speaking. So the question I want to now pose again is, how do we give a voice to our gender, and particularly to the youngsters? And how do we give ears to the rest of the population, to be receptive, to listen? So it's two sides. We need that voice to be able to articulate, to express, and we need that voice to be heard. So what are some of the things that we could be doing? What do you think the country should be doing? What can each one of us be doing? Rita made a good point about mentoring. There was a slogan for education called "Each One, Teach One." And maybe we could broaden that and just say "Each one, reach one." So if each of us could even just reach a person, regardless of gender, like Richa said, it could be a boy or a girl. If you're molding the mind of that person and molding it in the shape of someone who would think in terms of equality and opportunity, then again you're reaching and making that difference. So how can we be doing this?
I think the very simple fact is, rather than reaching out to the largest community, of course the aim is to reach out of the global most pedestal. You want to be a global leader. But to become a global leader, you have to start somewhere. And that is the first step that we need to take. I won't want to say that, we are not being heard or we are not being spoken about, because the media is very popular in our country. They're not, they become not opinion makers, they become decision makers. So, because the media has become very popular, it's got, again, a double-edged sword, good and a bad. But I look at the good part of it. The good part is that at least the medium of communication has improved. Now, when we say that how we can touch upon lives, I personally feel that if you want to have any change, let's be the change. If I start changing even one, rather than things globally, I start changing things around me, I think I've started the movement. I would feel that at least 4 or 5 years back, there was not such a big conference also held where women entrepreneurs or women sports people or achievers would come on the pedestal and share their experience. There'll be one amongst 10 men. A few months back, I attended a conference of the CIA as well in Mumbai, and there was one gentleman amongst 8 women, and all those 8 women were either head of corporate or sports or he was a member of parliament as well. So there were 8 women achievers and 1 gentleman. So which means that things have improved. I mean, coming to the question how we can raise a voice is just be the change. You want to, okay, in my field, if I want somebody to become a sports person, I would want to talk about sports because I have other 2 people talking about other subjects. Even in the corporate world, when I used to go to the office and say, sir, this is something that I need to do, and vis-a-vis a male gentleman wanting to get a presentation approved before me, I had to wait. But that waiting kept me noticed that yes, she's ready to wait for her opportunity. And the moment I'm able to present my case to the senior or the bosses, and if it was approved by the management, then they know that yes, I mean business and I will wait for my turn, but yes, I will be heard and I will be given that opportunity. So it's just that, just be around, that the change has to happen. So I firmly believe if I want to have a change, be the change aspect. People have started coming up to me and saying, you inspired my girl to take a sport. I feel that we are a very result-oriented country. We want results happening. Irrespective whichever field it is. If an organization is doing very well in a particular year, everything is followed into that organization. Isne kaise kiya, kya policy banai, kya nahi banai. Results don't come overnight. It's a process which gets you the results, not immediate results. It doesn't come overnight. Similarly, in a sport, I feel even if I'm able to initiate 2 or 3 parents to get their kids out onto the field and start playing a sport, be it cricket, be it basketball or athletics, anything, then I think I've done my bit as well. Because I'm sure somebody was there. Yes, Kiran Bedi is a very, very important factor in this. You know, my parents always used to say Kiran Bedi is a big role model. So we seek role models. We seek people who are idols. We want to follow them. We want to become achievers. And at that point of time, we want ideals in our country to be created. I think that's where the role of media becomes very important. They should create few more models which are also achievers, not only underachievers, but yes, achievers. And make sure that people start idolizing them. Then there is because they reach out to the world on a much better pedestal than how we reach out the way we do simultaneously. Yeah, this process is on, but the role of media becomes very important. And even if I'm able to change one or two lives by me being in a place where it can make a difference, I think I've started the movement. And in the field of sports, I think that movement has to be done. There are a lot of girls which are taking up to sports. There are a lot of girls which are taking up not only to cricket or athletics, they're even thinking of doing sports management. They've started taking up courses of doing sports administration, just because they feel that yes, sports is a very good field in our country and it's an upcoming thing across the globe, and it is on an upswing, it's on a positive side. So I feel things are moving. We have to make them speed up. We need to join more hands, and the other side of it, which should listen, I think should become a little more broader, because we tend to be at the same place at the same time. It's just the timings are different for everybody. So the other side, which is not listening right now, will have to listen. It's just a matter of time. They have to open the other side.
As Punita said, with Anjum, I completely agree. I believe that togetherness is the main key to success. Alone I can only smile, together we can laugh. Yes, and I can only talk, alone I can only say, together we can actually shout. But at the same time we have to be serious. See, we talk about our deeds. More than we should talk, we should show with our actions. I'll give you an example. I was teaching in a school. There was a friend of mine. We used to go to an NGO called Tomorrow's Foundation. So the head of Tomorrow's Foundation asked us to visit Dantewada. There are few girls, and he believed in them, and he said they are really talented. So I just spoke with a friend of mine, and she said, "No, you just can't do that. It's just impossible, and you try." I said, "Okay, fine." And then she made a group. And she said that we will do something and show Richa that, going there and just talking or maybe whatever. I was going there with my husband. I requested him, let's go there. And actually, when I spoke to them, they had so much of talent. You won't believe. Those 6 girls, they were actually learning few of the small things from the beginning, and they are teenagers now, 13, 14 years. Only thing they have to be provided with little, maybe computer and maybe other books and things like that. So more than anything, I found, and in fact we found, that they had that talent and we could provide them. And actually, you won't believe now, one of them is studying in Shiksha Yagna. There's a friend of mine who took full responsibility. And apart from that, that other friend of mine who actually started with some other group, and now they are doing nothing but partying. I should not say, but I really respect what you think and what you believe. Charity begins at home. I have a domestic help, a girl who is 15 years old, my daughter who is 9 years. She saw some skills maybe that Didi wants to learn something. You won't believe that she took out her previous class books and now she's teaching, and now she can actually write cat, bat, rat. And she knows that, yes, if somebody says thank you, she should say welcome. These are small things. So I would like to say that illiteracy is actually the root cause, especially in rural areas. We are changing in cities, those who are educated. So each one of us come forward and do something for them. We can actually prove our point. And as I said, deeds are actions that should speak. Thank you.
I actually had made a note of a few points because I felt this is exactly what would come up, that could we have some solutions, to these problems. And just yesterday, I just came back from Bombay last night, and on the flight, you were talking, Anjum was talking about the media and how perhaps they could become more positive in playing a role in spreading the success stories or the approaches to how we can get to women and, I think partly success stories also, rather than just become so very offensive. I think the media ought to become more developmental. So I was so pleased that there was a story, and I just wrote down her name yesterday. They talked about a lady called Chavi Rajawat. Now Chavi Rajawat, it was a 2-page story, is the first woman sarpanch, a woman to become a sarpanch in one of the most backward areas in Rajasthan, in a place called Soda. You know soda, the soda that you drink, SOTA. Soda is about 60 kilometers from Jaipur, and Chavi Rajawat is an MBA, and she has left a very, very lucrative corporate job, and she said, I have to get back to the roots because Soda is where my village is, and I must go back and give something to them. So she has become a sarpanch, and she is doing that. She's trying to develop the whole village, trying to get marriages done. She's trying to get tube wells put in. She's trying to get education become a wider issue because the literacy level is very low there. So I think that's a very, very fine example of a woman who has come forward and is not just trying to make a lot of money but has gone back to her roots. So I thought that was a lovely story, and maybe there should be more such Chavi Rajawats who should be ready to go back and do a little more work where they could be useful. Maybe not one, but several people. 3-4 other points. We've all heard about the system of microfinance and microcredit. And it has worked very well. I keep going to Bangladesh. It's worked extremely well with the women over there. And I think this should become a model all over India. Because basically, what is it that empowers women? A little bit of money? Why should they always have to turn to their husbands or their fathers or brothers for money? They should be independent. And if they can be given this little bit of microfinance by banks to start little enterprises, they are the ones who grow these enterprises. They can get other women under them. And I have heard that there's a very high rate of paying back. They do go and pay back their loans after once it has been established. So think of the system of microcredit that perhaps could be replicated. Then we have to start a stronger, much stronger legislation against rape. I think that is something we have to look for. I don't know how we will do it. I wish Damayanti Sen were here. We could have talked more about that. Maybe we have to also zip up the mouths of the Chautalas who talk about women wanting to get them married by 16, so that then those women won't get raped because they are happily married. What's the logic in that? I don't know. Or about Narendra Modi making those sexist remarks. I think these things, we should ride over them. They don't affect us, really. That's one. The other thing is, and this is aimed at all the men over here, I think there ought to be a system of paternity leave, because, you know, maternity leave, women take leave and they're working away like crazy at home. Why don't the men get paternity leave and then they can come and help the women? And that will also help to, you know, tide over a lot of problems and possibilities. You know, to add to your statistics, there are 500 million women in India, out of whom 50 or 5.5 actually go out and work. Right? 5.5 out of 500 million women. Out of those 5.5 million women who want to work, they're often held back because of family constraints. Exactly what Punita said in the beginning. They go up to a point and then they can't work anymore because then they've got to bear children or somebody is sick in the thing, in the house. So they actually fall out of the employment market. Out of these 5.5 million women in India, and this is a horrifying statistic, only 258 are in the top corporate jobs, and only 16 of them are absolutely at the top in the BSc index. What does it say about our country when we are trying to empower women? So I think we've got to take note of some of these suggestions and you know, go forward. As you say, we all do our own little mentoring at home, in our particular fields, etc. That's how we can take it forward.
So at home, at work, generally in the community, each one reach one. Now, we should be wrapping up, but there might be a few burning questions from the audience. Is anyone very desperate to ask a question? We will have one for you. Soumya?
It's actually not a question, but some more suggestions. We sugarcoat too much. We sugarcoat the facts too much. We sugarcoat everything that goes on with the government too much because we are not strong enough to stand up to somebody who is in the government.
My personal opinion and the opinion of most of the feminists out in my group is that the government and whatever the government is doing for the women is not actually what is done. 33.3% reservation for women that we get, or the 50% reservation bill that was written or probably tried to pass. Did it go anywhere in the assembly? No. What are the male leaders doing for the women at least, if not for the women leaders? That is one point. The second point I want to put across is that I'm really proud to work for a company which takes women inclusivity not only in the leadership but also in the associates very seriously. We have strong policies against sexual harassment in any way, even if it's verbal. I myself was a victim of verbal sexual harassment, and I immediately put it across, and I'm really proud to say that that person has been abolished from the company. I'm really proud also to say that I am from a state where at least some of the leaders take care of their women very well. For example, I can quote that most of the companies, especially in the IT sector, they take care of the women very well, be it providing cabs and all. But I'm not talking about the other side of it, where we do not have any strong policies or any strong legislations, not only against rape but also against sex trafficking, domestic violence, and also marital rape. So we all should strongly speak up against all these, and for that, I think the first step towards it is to start shouting instead of just speaking up. We have strong voices, the men definitely would agree. We do have strong voices at home, so why not outside? Why not in the government? So please, like Anjum said, be the change. If you start speaking up, if you start shouting, people will definitely listen to you, and they have no other choice than
them to change themselves or their attitude towards it. This is just my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia, for your comment. And it's great to get some heartening news about the corporate world and how it's a better situation for young women in the workplace in some companies. One other question, if anybody has any of the panelists.
If we go to this history of our culture, then we see like Dushasan did the Vastraharan of Draupadi. And then again, kings can marry hundreds of women, but women can marry one man. And then we go to Sati system. And most importantly means after marriage, woman has to live his home, her home, not man. So do you think that history is responsible for what is happening today? What's your view on that?
See, we are not playing a blame game and why this is happening. Yes, history repeats itself. We can't deny that. We are a product of history. There is a certain norm, there is a certain system which has been devised or derived from. We can't change that. We can't go back into the past and change the past. But yes, we can work towards a better future. I don't go so long back into history. I'm a student of history honors, but I'm still going to go back into history because that's already gone, that's already past. I can't change that. But I can take good parts from that as well. You know, there are instances in our history as well where women have been treated at a higher pedestal than the men. There are instances where the women have led the battle and then the men have supported ladies as well. But we're not, when we're getting into the future, we're not saying, you know, a woman should get that, a woman must get that. We're not, till date, she's right, till date not raised our voices in such a way. But yeah, in our own subtle way, just passing on the system. The idea is to make a better livelihood, make a better future, and make a educated environment around ourselves. And you can only get educated when we start getting people an education. And when to get an education, they say that, you know, you educate a girl, the family gets educated. So it's not a fight or a battle or something that you drastically want to change, you just want to initiate it. And in an initiation, I think it's only human efforts to do it. We make systems, but then we need humans to follow those systems. So it's just inculcated within us that, you know, wherever we nahi kiya, hum bhi nahi karenge. It's just, you stand up today and say, boss, this is the way I want to move forward, and let's make the change. I don't think our history would stop it, or the future would stop it. But our present will certainly become much, much better. And they say, if you work towards a better present, your future is sorted.
Ma'am, there are two fundamental laws of nature where man and woman are absolutely equal. In fact, I would say that women are a little more equal than men. First is the human genetics. It ensures that there is an absolute 50-50 chance of you being born as a man or woman. There is no inequality there. Two, after being born, there is no case in the history of any species which has done anything to exterminate itself. No man would survive if women are not there. This is a fundamental law of evolution. So there is no question that men can survive without women. And the rest of what we discuss here are mere superficialities, but at the base of it, we are more than equal. Thank you.
Yes, without women, not a single person would be here. You have all come off women and so about giving the woman a voice, giving the child a voice. Can I have the projector and the audio now, please? Dean Thompson earlier in his address had talked about the International Day of the Girl Child, which was celebrated just recently on October the 11th. And this is the first time they've initiated this day, although other countries, even India, had tried a national day earlier and so on. But now it's become internationalized, and October 11th is the day that it was celebrated. And in India, this NGO called Plan India, supported by some of the major musical groups today in India, Indian Ocean, Euphoria, Parikrama, they all got together and they composed an anthem for the girl child. It's called Because I Am a Girl. And in this album, in this song, they all collaborated and put it together. It's a really nice song, and I'm just going to play it, and we can probably soften it as I thank all the panelists for coming today and for talking to us about this very important subject. It's called Main Ho, composed by an all-male band, collaborated on by other rock bands inside the country, and the Sri Lanka's choir.
Thank you, Ms. Rita, Ms. Chopra, Richa, Rita Singh, for participation. May I now request Ms. Ritu Arora to come up to stage and felicitate Mrs. Rita Bhimani. May I now request Mr. Prasad Somani to come up on stage and felicitate Mrs. Richa Sharma. May I now request Mr. Punita to come up on stage and felicitate Mr. Anjum Chopra. And can I now request the Carpet Chair Neeraj Agarwal could talk about